Have you ever really thought about the vending machine in your break room? I mean, it seems so simple, right? But behind that glass, there's a whole world of strategy, technology, and just good old-fashioned hustle. Today, we're going to break down how it all works, from literally winning your first machine in a poker game, all the way to valuing a modern, cashless route. You gotta love this. This one quote just captures the spirit of the industry so perfectly. Our case study, a veteran operator we'll call Bill, didn't sit down and write a big business plan. He didn't go get a loan. Nope. He won a Coke machine because his buddy couldn't cover a $200 poker debt. And just like that, one machine kicked off a career that would span decades. All right, so let's get into it. Section 1, the accidental start. All because of a poker game. So this was his first big lesson. And man, was it a fast one. Bill takes that machine and puts it on a construction site in the Florida heat. You've got a bunch of thirsty workers, no other options around, and that thing emptied out every single day. It was a total crash course in the most important rule of this business: location, location, location. So you can really see how this thing just snowballed from a side hustle into a real job. He starts with the one machine, then, while he's still working his day job, he starts adding apartment complexes, places he could go service after hours. The whole thing just grew organically until he hits about 40 soda machines. And that was the tipping point where he could finally quit his job and go all in on vending. Okay, so section 2. Let's talk about the money. This is all about mastering what they call the penny business. This is the core philosophy you have to get in your head. It is a penny business. You've heard that old saying, watch the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. Well, in vending, that is the absolute law. I mean, saving half a cent on a can of soda seems like nothing, right? But multiply that by thousands and thousands of cans, and suddenly it's real money right in your pocket. And it's kind of funny, right? Take a look at how the numbers have changed, but the actual game, it stayed pretty much the same. Back in the 90s, a can cost you maybe 20 cents, and you'd sell it for 50. Today, that can cost over 30 cents, and you're selling it for 75 or more. But look at the sourcing. It's still about chasing deals at places like Sam's Club. The scale is different, sure, but the hustle, that's identical. So when you sell a soda for 75 cents, where does all that change actually go? Well, about 32 cents, or 43%, is just the cost of the can itself. Then another nickel or so, about 7%, goes to sales tax. And what you're left with is a 50% gross profit. For a business with really low overhead, that is a very, very healthy margin. Okay, so this is the good stuff. The real in the trenches rules for where you should actually put these machines. For soda, you need at least 20 people around. For snacks, you really want to aim for over 50. And know your customer. Blue-collar spots tend to sell way more of the classic junk food. And this part is key. Do not listen to the one person at the office who swears everyone wants fancy protein bars. No. Trust the hard data from industry magazines. It'll tell you what really sells. Coke, Pepsi, Snickers, the big brands you see on TV. All right, section 3. This is where things get really interesting. From coins to cashless. This is probably the single biggest shift that has changed the entire game. You know, for decades, this whole business was just a world of quarters and, those crumpled up dollar bills that never seemed to go in right. As prices went up, the machines got a little better at taking bills. But the real revolution, the thing that changed everything, has been the slow death of cash. As fewer and fewer people carry it, being able to take a credit card or a phone payment became essential just to stay in business. But you can imagine, right? For the old school guys like Bill, this was a tough pill to swallow. They looked at a card reader and all they saw was one more expensive piece of tech that could break down. And of course, they were really worried about those credit card processing fees eating into their precious penny business margins. 25%. That's the number. The average sales boost you got just by adding a card reader. The data was just impossible to argue with. And why? Well, think about it. People don't carry $1 in cash for an impulse buy anymore, but a quick swipe of a card, it's totally frictionless. And that 25% lift in sales, it more than pays for the fees and any extra maintenance. No question. So you're probably thinking, okay, I'll just add a card reader. But how do you actually do it? This right here, this is the one technical detail you absolutely have to know when you're buying a machine.
It has to be MDB compatible. MDB, or multi-drop bus, is basically the universal language that lets all the parts, the card reader, the coin slot, the main computer, all talk to each other. If you don't have MDB, you can't easily upgrade. It is a total non-negotiable.
Okay, next up, section 4. Let's talk about running a modern route. Because tech isn't just about taking payments, it's about creating massive efficiency.
Just imagine this for a second. The old way of doing things meant 2 trips from the truck every single time. You'd have to walk in, open the machine, see what's empty, then walk all the way back to your truck, grab what you need, and walk back in to fill it. Now, contrast that with the new way. You pull up an app on your phone from a system like Cantaloupe, and you can see every machine's inventory remotely. You pack a tote with the exact stock you need. You walk in once, fill it, and you're done. It's night and day, half the time, which means you can handle double the machines.
And when you're in this business long enough, you get these little gems of wisdom from the veterans. Like this one. When it comes to soda machines, the advice is buy Dixie Narco. Apparently, they are legendary for being absolute tanks. They're just reliable workhorses that don't break down. And that's exactly what you want from an asset that's sitting out there in the field working for you.
So, how much are these things going to set you back? Well, here's the smart play. You buy refurbished, not brand new. You can get a machine that works perfectly for a fraction of the price. You know, a basic older soda machine might only be $400 to $700. But a modern, MDB-ready one that can take a card reader, that's closer to $1,800. And a big glass front machine with tons of choices could run you about $3,000. You just match the investment to how much you think the location can make.
All right, last section here, section 5. And this is the big one, valuing a route. How in the world do you know what it's really worth?
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? For decades, vending was a cash business. And let's be honest, that often meant not all the cash got reported. So if you're the buyer, how can you possibly trust the numbers the seller is giving you? You've got to have a way to prove what the business is actually making.
Well, there's a really clever way to do it. You basically true up the sales. You ignore their reported income, and instead, you look at their costs. It's a 3-step process. Step 1, you get every single invoice for products they've bought. All the soda, all the chips. Step 2, you use those invoices to calculate the total number of units sold, every last can, every last bag of chips. Then, step 3, you just multiply those units by the price they sell for in the machine, and boom, you've just rebuilt the gross revenue from the ground up. It gives you a number you can actually verify, completely bypassing any cash that might have been skimmed.
Okay, let's put some real numbers on this to make it all sink in. Here is a real route that was for sale. It had 110 machines, about half of them taking credit cards. It was grossing $210,000 a year, and after all was said and done, the owner-operator was netting about $80,000 for themselves. And the asking price? $175,000. This just shows you the kind of real-world scale and profitability you can actually find out there.
And all of this leaves us with one big final question. You know, the core of the business is timeless. Buy something low, sell it for a little bit more. But with all this technology adding incredible efficiency, giving you better data, and new ways for people to pay, the game has completely changed. It's more transparent, it's more measurable, and it's potentially way more profitable. So is what was once a classic cash side hustle now becoming one of the smartest, most under-the-radar investments you can make?